When I first played Dave the Diver, I was completely hooked. So much so that I gave it a glowing review early on in my What's It Like journey. I actually think it was one of the first certified exceptional games I reviewed. Its blend of deep sea diving, restaurant management, quirky characters, and genuine charm just made it an easy standout. I already thought the game was absolutely fantastic, but news of the Yakuza DLC crossover beckoned me to return to the blue hole. Originally, I'd just planned on dipping my toes in to try the Yakuza-themed DLC Ichiban's Holiday, but due to my save file not being on the cloud, I had to start fresh, and in doing so, I found myself diving headfirst back into everything that Dave the Diver does so well. The gameplay loop still hooked me instantly, and the new DLC content was far more compelling than I expected. Developer Mintrocket could have played it safe, but instead they changed the recipe by crossing over into other franchises, surprisingly managing to make everyone feel completely at home in Dave's world. Some are brief, others are a bit more fleshed out, and they're all integrated in ways that fit the game's humour, heart, and that special Dave the Diver magic. So let's take a deep dive into how these crossovers breathe new life into the game, and why now might be the perfect time to revisit Bancho Sushi. My first course was a taste of terror from the deep. When the Dredge crossover was announced, it just made sense, and it seemed that they would fit perfectly hand in hand. Red fog rolls through across the ocean, transforming your calm nightly dives into eerie encounters. Gameplay wise, it's a clever twist, because the red fog dives are like night dives but with a more sinister edge, and very dangerous and exciting. There's a bunch of wild and new aberrant sea creatures to capture, and a new dredge mechanic where you can fish up treasures. The eerie ambience slots right in, creating new layers of gameplay without overwhelming the player. What really impressed me was how the DLC changed the restaurant gameplay. It's the only crossover that truly alters how you run Bancho Sushi, and it does so without disrupting the game's tone or rhythm. Hooded customers begin visiting Bancho Sushi, and they only order dishes made from aberrant fish, which you can only catch during these creepy fog events. You'll need to balance out these aberrant dishes, which won't be eaten by regular customers, with regular dishes that won't be eaten by hooded customers. Thankfully, it keeps it fun and light, and a travelling merchant will buy your leftover aberrant fish, so you won't be left with too much stock, which then forces you to dive for fresh stock once the red fog rolls in again. I enjoyed the sushi aspect more than the diving. That's how well integrated it was. And I hadn't even played Dredge yet, but after this DLC, I went out and bought it straight away, and I'll share my thoughts on that one later. The second course, Godzilla making a splash. Of all the DLC moments, Godzilla might have been the biggest fun factor. After a climatic boss battle with a giant lobster, yes, really, you emerge to find Bancho Sushi under attack. Just as all hope seems lost, the king of monsters rises from the ocean, and the game pivots into a cinematic fight sequence that plays like a classic monster brawler. Think Primal Rage. I couldn't help but smile the entire time while playing it. It was just one of those rare crossover moments that truly felt epic. While it was all over rather quickly, and I initially thought the tie-in was just shallow fan service, it ended up being cleverly woven into the narrative. This wasn't just a quick cameo, it was a well thought out addition that felt like a natural part of Dave's world. And even after the event, the kaiju energy lingers, as you can collect Godzilla minifigures throughout the game, and you can view your collection in the in-game app on your phone. And it just adds a surprisingly addictive gotta catch 'em all element. It's so surprising when you come across one of these in the wild. If I had just one wish, I would have loved to see more themed sushi dishes or workers who are inspired by Godzilla lore, but for a free DLC tied into Godzilla vs. Kong's movie release, it was an absolute treat. It's just such a shame that this was a limited time menu special because it worked so well. Next up on my menu was a sample platter that went all in on Balatro and friends. Balatro has taken the world by storm, even earning a What's It Like certified exceptional score of 94 out of 100. I had high hopes for this one, and it delivered. The fact that Dave the Diver managed to recreate the look, feel, and even the addictive pacing of Balatro within its own universe was a total surprise. In Dave's world, it's rebranded as Jimbo's Game, a gambling side activity tucked away in the Sea People's Village, and it fits perfectly. What stood out to me was how optional yet enticing it was. I could have just powered through the game to get to the Yakuza content, but like any good side dish, it was just too tasty to pass up. I found myself sinking time into Jimbo's Game, genuinely enjoying how it slowed the pace enough to offer something different. The only drawback? It's entirely underwater, meaning this brilliant little homage doesn't bubble up to the surface level gameplay at Bancho Sushi. Still, as a distraction, it's top tier, and honestly, Balatro deserves all the attention it gets. This was a crossover that just felt like a love letter. This same update also included the Dave and Friends content drop, which added a few more goodies to the menu, like a potion craft crossover that introduced a small ingredient collection mechanic, while real-life artist MXM Toon joined the game for a musical collaboration. These extras were a little bit more bite-sized than other DLCs, but they helped give the game even more personality. The Potion Craft mini-quest in particular offered a subtle but charming way to blend games from very different genres, and once again, it just worked. And the MXM Toon crossover just had so much heart. The main course was finally here, Ichiban's Holiday. As a big fan of Like a Dragon, I had some personal excitement heading into the Ichiban's Holiday DLC. I'd also recently wrapped up a review of Yakuza Kiwami on the Switch, so the franchise was still fresh in my mind. But even with that familiarity, I was genuinely surprised with how well this DLC captured the tone and energy of the Yakuza series, while still feeling like Dave the Diver. Ichiban, as usual, arrives in style, and before too long, you're pulled into a small but satisfying story arc that culminates in classic Yakuza-style beat-em-up sequences that pay homage to the Capcom CSP1 games of old. It's short, sure, but it's incredibly well executed. The gameplay shifts in a way that pays tribute to both Yakuza's brawler roots without losing Dave the Diver's signature flair. It's brief, but it's brilliant. It's the perfect crossover moment by crafting something that brings two fan bases together with a wink and a smile. I do wish the DLC had gone a bit deeper or brought more characters across from the franchise, but I was more than satisfied with the experience. However, for a paid DLC, it was rather short, almost comparable to the Godzilla DLC, which would be my only complaint. But that being said, there are new staff and new recipes for Bancho Sushi that stick around to remind you of your somewhat brief but fun outing with Ichiban. Just when I thought I was finished my meal, there was a tease of what was next, jungle biomes and the future potential of the franchise. Dave the Diver left one last dish on the table, recently announcing a mysterious teaser for the upcoming jungle biome. We only got a taste for now, but it's clear that Mintrocket isn't done expanding the menu. It's a smart move. After all, the game's biggest strength is how it consistently evolves without ever losing sight of its core ingredients. Each DLC has so far slotted in naturally, enhancing what's already there without overwhelming the flavour. If the jungle update continues that trend, bringing new characters, mechanics, or maybe even franchise crossovers, then we have plenty to look forward to. If this is just an appetizer for what's next, I'll gladly come back for seconds. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out what'sitlike.com.au.